All right, welcome back. This will be class assignment number 4. So we just finished off doing a rolling offset pipe was our last video, and we talked about going to gored elbows. I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and we'll put off gored elbows right now, and we'll go to round-around intersections. So this is just kind of prepping us to get ready to do our forge gas inlet piping development. So I want to work on round-arounds. And to start that, we're going to do this round-around intersection, which is just like a T, kind of like a pipe T. And we're going to do a drawing where they are the same diameter. So looking at this drawing I have up on the screen, this is like a 3-inch OD tube intersecting a 3-inch OD tube. So when I look at something like this, I call this one the header. It kind of runs horizontal. And the vertical one coming in, I refer to this as a branch. So I guess what I want to show here, we're going to be working with tubing again. I think I've got this one maybe 14 gauge tubing. And really I only need to know the OD diameter to draw that up. But when I have like diameters, this branch kind of intersects that header and will come all the way down to about its center line here, and kind of get these like deep V's that you see on the side here. So this is the one we're going to draw today. I just briefly wanted to talk about some of the other ones we'll draw right now. So that's kind of look like in this picture here. I'm actually going to start this from the current slide. So just briefly here, disregard the branch coming in at an angle here, but let's say this one running horizontal is our header. His branch, same diameter of piping, comes in from the bottom here, and he's got this fit up so that it comes down to that V, kind of that center line of that header pipe on both the branches that he's building here. So that's kind of what that's going to look like when we do ours. There are some modifications as pipe gets bigger diameter that will actually round off this point and line up the inside diameters. And so when you see some big pipe that are branch, like a branch test, round intersections, this will be rounded off. And so kind of like here in this that I'm showing you here, maybe this one's the same diameter as that one, and they've kind of rounded this off to line the IDs up a little more than the ODs. And well, what else I wanted to show here mostly is off to the right side here is here's some round-arounds, different diameters, and so these get very rounded off as we do that. They definitely don't come down to the center lines here. They kind of run out of run when this smaller branch intersects this header. So we'll first we're going to do one that's like diameter, then we're going to go to one that's dissimilar diameters, and maybe then we'll push one of these kind of off to one side, and we're not going to lean it over like this yet. We're actually just going to push that like towards me in the picture. So yeah, here's like another one. These are same diameter pipes, only they've rounded this off and they're kind of lining up their IDs, and they actually do the development on the branch. They drop it onto the header, and they use the ID of that branch to lay out the header. They kind of mark the ID and OD of the branch, and so that's kind of a different way to do that. And it'll look just a little bit different than how we'll draw it, but I just wanted to point that out. I don't really want to go to that one. Let's go to this one. That's what this guy's done here. Is he's only done the cutout on the branch, and then he's dropped it against. This hasn't been cut out on the inside yet, and that's a realistic way to do this. You can develop and work off of the branch. Once you have your branch cut the way you want it, you can just drop that against a header to use that as your template for the header cutouts. And so that's kind of an easy, kind of a common sense way. Develop your branch, use it to lay out your header. And you know, if I was building my own stuff, I'd probably do that like all the time. And that's what they'll have you even do on like piping branch tests. And but I'll show you in our drawing that we can also like lay out the header cutout. If I'm drawing this with orthographic projection, really I can develop them both as flat patterns. So I'll show you that, even though maybe I would just use the branch to lay out the header. So yeah, this one just shows that, see, he hasn't cut the cutout in the header. He's using the branch to lay out that header cutout. So he'll come in here and like mark this ID where that branch sits down on that header. Then he'll go and mark the OD. And then he'll probably leave that line on the OD when he cuts. So I just wanted to show you that. This is a realistic way that I would use my branch to lay out my header. But I'm going to show you both. So and I just want to show you this one too. When I said we would push our branch off, so it wasn't just sitting right on top, and that's what's going on in this view here. These are what I'm looking at specifically is just this branch coming into this section of the round, this round cone. I mean, I'm not talking about the cone here, just this round around intersection right here. This branch, rather than just coming in on center, you know, they bring it far to one side. Actually, they brought it all the way flush to one side to kind of, you know, this would kind of start a centrifugal motion. If it was incoming, whether fluids or solids, they would start a spinning action in this. And in food processing, they use this type of intersection all the time, with these really long, flush to one side, really steep angle cuts. Our forge housing is not quite this drastic. You know, it's not. We don't bring it all the way down flush to one side. We actually tuck it in. And we're off center on the gas inlet piping on our forge, but we're not quite this drastically off center. So this is actually developed, you know, two dissimilar diameters, and one of them is kind of coming in flush to one side. So I just want to show that as these round around intersections. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with that. We're going to start with I'm going to escape this, go back to my drawing page. I'll go back to my document here. We're just going to start one that's same diameters, and this first one we lay out will kind of have a deep V here, where this one comes down and doesn't stop till it hits the center line of this. The branch will hit the center line of the header. So we're going to use these dimensions. So I'd have to have some dimensions to work with to do this. You know, I'd have to know what size of material I wanted to work with. So for this exercise, we're going to do 3-inch tube, so that'll be OD. I'm going to make my header length 5 inches, which really could be any length, you know. Maybe I'm working with a specific length. For this particular case, I just need it to be longer than the branch that's coming in so that I get some, you know, room on the sides to work with. I'm going to use the same branch diameter as 3-inch, and I'm just going to make it 3-inch long branch. So let's go to AutoCAD, kind of show you what the finished drawings will look like here. So we're going to do an elevation view of that, and I guess that's kind of why I pulled this up. So I want to make sure where I pulled that 3-inch from. It looks like I've pulled it off of the top of the pipe as my 3-inch branch height. If I said to the longest point of the branch, it'd probably be down here. So I just want to make sure. So I'll draw it the same way as my finished drawing is. Got a 3-inch OD branch. You can see my development circles that we're used to working with. That I've only needed it for the branch. But here's my elevation, my front view, and then I just take a right side view. So with these two views, and this one is in this case, in this drawing, I do need to draw a front elevation view and a right side view. So, and then, you know, with that, we get the information we need to develop a branch, which could be used to lay out the header. Once I had that thing formed up and drop it onto and use it as my template for my header, or I can actually also lay out a header template. So that's what I've got going on below here, kind of in line with this. Is this that I'm highlighting here is the header development that I've used. So kind of gets a football shaped cutout. to accept that branch. And I'm fitting these up to the OD, so the only thing I've drawn in here is the OD of the pipe. So when that cuts out, you know, that's going to be this cutout's going to be to the OD of that branch, almost like that branch would be like inserting into there. And that might not be how I might, for something that I wanted to line up on the ID, I would need to like decide what thickness of tubing I'm working with and bring those ID dimensions down in and kind of use those as my development. And that would make it so my IDs kind of lined up and maybe had tighter seams on the inside. So I have control over that. Maybe I need to be aware of what my application is. But okay, this is where we're headed. So let's get started. I'll get started with this. I'll probably make this video in a couple of parts. So let's go back to an empty drawing screen. I've got my information up there just so I have it. I'm going to start kind of with that elevation front view. And I can start drawing the branch. I can start drawing the header. I can draw this. I can start this anyway. So I'll just come in here and I'm going to draw. Maybe I'll just start with my center lines. Let me load my lines that I'm going to use for development. Load my dashed line. I think that's the only one I need. I don't need my dotted line, I don't think, for this one. So yeah. Is that how I want to do it? Maybe I just want to start with some circles here. So well, I'm going to start with a line here. So let's just draw in our header is 5 inches long, and it's 3-inch OD tube. It's 5 inches that way, and I'm just going to close that. So there's my header in the front view, and then it's got a branch. So sometimes when I do that, I like to be aware of where my center lines are. So I'll just go ahead and draw in, which is easy to snap to a midpoint. There is what that's doing for me. There's the center line of my header, and then I've got a branch that comes up here 3 inches tall. So number of ways I could do that, but I'll just do like a line. I snapped it there, and then I'm going to go 3 inches here. So now I've got it 3 inches above the header. All right, and I'll go back to my green to kind of draw in my header, which maybe, if I'm thinking, I can just, this is going to be the one I need a development circle on, so this is going to be a diameter of 3 here. And then give me some solid lines. I'm going to snap to the quadrant there. That's going to be the top of my branch, and I'm going to bring it down until it is perpendicular with the top of the header. Repeat that on this side. Yeah. I'm going to trim out that development circle that I don't need, like that. Okay. I can go ahead and get ready while I'm working with that and divide that circle by 6. Okay. I'm ready to bring those down. And so in this view, I don't know where, if I bring these orientation lines down, I don't exactly know where they'll end here. So I'm looking to kind of define, so I've divided this by 6. That's going to give me my development lines coming down, but I don't know where they would stop on this. I know this is going to kind of be a V here, and I'll show it. So at this point, I kind of, I kind of stop for a minute and let's draw in the right side view. If you ever get to a place where you're not sure where to go from there, just for me, I always think, well, okay, maybe I need to get the other view up and kind of see if it's got the information I'm looking for. So in this case, maybe I would project over, just use this, and this is going to be the top of my branch over here, and I can just make these an arbitrary length. I just need to like draw it in over here, give myself a little bit of space. So this is going to kind of be, there's a bunch of different ways I could do this. I could actually do this from, thinking of working with pipe center lines. I could just do this from the center line over here somewhere that has enough room. And then, see, now I've got a place off center. I can actually throw a circle in here. It would be an actual, so I'm going to draw a solid line in green because I can now put in a diameter of 3 here. Yeah, that's what that looks like if I spin that thing, look at the right side. That rectangle turns into the round actual profile view. So, and then from here, yeah, I've got the other stuff I need. I got my center line here of my branch that's I know up to there, and sometimes I like to draw in my center lines here just for my own reference sakes. Actually, this line probably could have stopped here. It's just an orientation line, a projection line. So there we go. And this one I'll probably trim back once I put in up top a development circle with a diameter of 3-inch tube. Great. And let's draw that down to where it meets the header now. So I'm just going to use my lines here. This is a solid line. That's the end of that's the top of the branch. And see, when I bring this down, this is where it kind of starts to give me that information I'm looking for. This comes down until it meets the center line. And that would essentially be where that branch would terminate. Because it would, if it went any further than that, it would come up off the header. So, at the when things are like diameters, they kind of terminate at center lines there. Unless I'm dealing with big pipe with thick wall thicknesses, then the termination points are more related to the ID, and you get some of that stuff I was showing you at the beginning of this video where we kind of round those off and don't take those to such a sharp point. We're actually more aware of what our IDs go, what's going on with our ID. Because if I zoom in here, like large diameter pipe, say this is like 12-inch pipe or 18-inch pipe, as it comes in to the center point here and then turns away from it, there's actually quite a distance. It's pretty straight here, and so I don't want to have to cut all that out and have all this straight like fit up. So when I'm doing those branch tests, I can even kind of maybe just bounce over here and show you. This is one that I drew. It's like 12 by 12, and I was aware of the ID dimensions here. And when I do those branch tests, I'm really only taking that branch, and this is where the branch is going to sit down on the header, and where that ID is going to hit that header is like right there. So you see, I kind of stop that development way before it comes down to center line, way up in here, and then it makes it an easier fit up. And so that becomes more obvious once I've done stuff that's kind of big, heavy, thick wall. I don't take out all that meat that I don't need to. I don't do any unnecessary cutting, So that's what those branch developments, it's because this would happen if I sat that branch down on there, this ID. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that because it's something I was thinking about how to explain what was going on there and why they don't come down to such a sharp V. But even though it's the same diameter, when it's the same diameter header and branch. So back to my other drawing here. This one in particular, it's I think I drew it up as 14 gauge. So I would probably almost V that all the way down. 14 gauge is just barely over a 1/16 of an inch thick. So you don't have that going on. So it's something that I maybe would take all the way down like this, like I'm going to draw this. So all right, so that's our branch coming down. Back to my drawing here. I'm going to trim this out. Get rid of that. This is a projection line, so I'm going to just keep it clean and tuck it back to where that's as far as it would really need to come over to define my overall height. I need to divide this circle the same way we've been dividing. So I'm going to do that one by my 6 lines. Okay, cool. So now this here, see, I can still move forward here. So now this is going to see that where I didn't have that information here and how that kind of relates to that header, I have it here. So I'm ready to put in these orientation lines. However I'm thinking of this circle, if I'm still thinking of this as kind of like 1 and back around, and this would be node 12 and 11 and 10. Thinking of those node points there. Anyway, I can't remember. I lost my train of thought a little bit, but what I'm doing is I'm going to put these in, stop it there, and then bring it down to where it intersects, stays perpendicular and intersects that header. Just like that. So continue this. And this one, I might take the time, like at the start of the next video. I think I'm going to get this kind of drawn and then to where it projects across. And then I'll probably end this video and start another. And I think I'll go through and like number these in between the videos. And then as I start the next video, I'll kind of explain. If I number them over here, it's like I'm looking at the right side view and how the numbers relate to each other. So I think that'll be valuable. And all right. And I think I'm actually going to do that one over the top of my center line. Just because that actual center line was all the way down to here, and the actual branch ends when it meets that header. So I kind of need a length of line. And if I think of like these things are telling me information that'll help me develop a flat pattern branch, so I need to be able to kind of copy a line, and that this actual center line I would have been a little bit too long. So anyway, that was just me thinking ahead a little bit that I need that measurement. And let's go ahead and finish off this circle. Comes down to there. Maybe what I was going to say was, if I'm thinking about this coming around, if this is my typical whatever node point I'm going to name this. When you have a symmetrical branch like this and a symmetrical header, so this is kind of a symmetrical part we're building. This orientation line is the same length as this one. The outside line here is the same length as the outside line over here. This line is the same length as this line, and the center line kind of stands alone in this. It's kind of its own length here, but yeah. All right, just wanted to explain that. And now, see, now I've got that information that I can now project across and do a grid pattern here to kind of block in this V here. So let's continue and bring these ones down. And what I'll do is I'll just bring these down long, and then I'll tuck them where they actually stop with the information from the right side view there. So I'll actually bring this one down all the way. Okay, kind of covering up my center lines there, but that's all right. Down to there, and I think what I'll do is I'll get to the point where, yeah, all right. So when I do this, I think maybe I'll end the video here, and I'll pick up the next video after I've kind of numbered these, and we'll talk about the numbering orientation. And then I'll project these across and pick up those lines. I think if I have these numbered, that would be a valuable thing for this next video. So, all right. So that was part one. We'll see in part two of the round around intersection, same diameter.